We are told that for this purpose the Son of God was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil. And again, ye know that he was manifested to take away our sins, and in him is no sin. And again, now once in the end of the world hath he appeared to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself. We must accept it as a fact, therefore, that sin is for us a conquered foe. And if our faith will only lay hold of this fact, reckoning sin to be dead to us, and ourselves to be dead to sin, and will dare, when we come in sight of temptation, to raise the shout of victory, we shall surely find, as the Israelites did, that every wall will fall down flat, and that a pathway will be opened straight before us to take the city. Our enemies are giants now just as truly as they were in Israel's day, and cities as great as Jericho, with walls as high, confront us in our heavenly pathway. Like the Israelites of old, we have no human weapons with which to conquer them. Our armor, like theirs, must be the armor of God. Our shield is the same invisible shield of faith that protected them, and our sword must be, as theirs was, the sword of the Spirit, which is the Word, that is, the promises and declarations of God. When our faith puts on this armor of God and lays hold of this sword of the Spirit, and we confront our enemy with a shout of undaunted faith, we cannot fail to conquer the mightiest giant or to take the strongest city. But alas, how different is the usual method of our Christian warfare. Instead of a triumphant shout of victory, we meet our temptations with feeble resolutions, or with futile arguments, or with half-hearted self-upbraiding, or, failing all else, with despairing prayers. "O Lord, save me," we cry. "O Lord, deliver me." And when no deliverance has come, and the temptation has swept aside all our arguments and all our resolutions, and we have been grievously defeated, then we have cried out in our despair that God has failed us, and that there is for us no truth in the Apostle's declaration that with every temptation there is a way of escape that we may be able to bear it. This is the usual and the unsuccessful way of meeting temptation, as many of us know to our cost. But what we ought to do is very different. We must recognize it as a fact that sin is a conquered foe, and must meet it, therefore, with a shout of victory instead of with a cry for help. Where we prayed that the Lord would save us, we must make now the assertion that He does save us, and that He saves us now. We must add the little letter S to the word save, and make it the present instead of the future tense. The walls may look as high and as immovable as ever, and prudence may say it is not safe to shout until the victory is actually won. But the faith that can shout in the midst of the sorest stress of temptation, "Jesus saves me, He saves me now," such a faith will be sure to win a glorious and a speedy victory. Many of God's children have tried this plan and have found it to work far beyond even their expectations. Temptations have come in upon them like a flood, temptations to irritability, or to wicked thoughts, or to bitterness of spirit, or to 1,000 other things, and they have seen their danger, and their fears and their feelings have declared that there was no hope of escape. But their faith has laid hold of this grand fact that Christ has conquered, and they have fixed their gaze on the unseen power of God's salvation, and have given their shout of victory, "The Lord saves, He saves me now. I am more than conqueror through Him that loves me." And the result is always a glorious victory. It may sometimes seem so impossible that the Lord can or does save that the words will not say themselves inside, but have had to be said out loud, forcing one's lips to utter them over and over, shutting one's eyes and closing one's ears against every suggestion of doubt, no matter how plausible it may seem. These declarations of faith often seem untrue at first, so apparently real are the seen reasons for doubt and discouragement. But the unseen facts are truer than the seen, and if the faith that lays hold of them is steadfastly persisted in, they never fail in the end to prove themselves to be the very truth of God. According to our faith, it always must be unto us sooner or later, and when we shout the shout of faith, the Lord invariably gives the victory of faith. Psalmist, after telling of the enemies who were daily trying to swallow him up, declared triumphantly, "When I cry unto thee, then shall mine enemies turn back. This I know, for God is for me." Do you know what the psalmist knew? Do you know that God is for you and that he will cause your enemies to turn back? If you do, then go out to meet your temptations, singing a song of triumph as you go. Meet your very next temptation in this way. At this first approach, begin to give thanks for the victory. Claim continually that you are more than conqueror through him that loves you, and refuse to be daunted by any foe. Shout the shout of faith with Joshua and Jehoshaphat and David and Paul, that when you shout, the Lord will set ambushments, and all your enemies shall fall down dead before you.